The tallest players in the NBA right now are Zach Edey and Victor Wembanyama. They're listed at 7'4", but those guys are dwarfs in comparison to this 18-year-old prodigy who the NBA needs to get ready for. Here is a video of Olivier Ryu cutting the net after his Florida Gators won the national championship. But what's the difference between him and every other champion following this tradition? Ryu doesn't need a ladder, he's standing still. He can dunk a basketball without jumping, and watching him in layup lines looks like a toddler playing on a mini hoop. And that's because he's 7'9", making him 5 inches taller than the tallest current NBA player. But Ryu isn't just a giant among current players, he's taller than the tallest players ever. George Marison and Manute Bol were 7'7", and the scariest thing is that Ryu is still growing. Just look at this viral video from a few months ago when he meets Shaquille O'Neal. Freeze on Shaq's face right here. Don't forget, Shaq is 7'1". 99.9% of his life he's been the tallest person in the room. He's probably never had to look up at somebody that tall in his entire life. Olivier Ryu is insane, and he's been breaking records since coming out of the womb. At 5 years old, he was taller than his teacher in kindergarten. He was 6 feet at just 8 years old. He was 7 feet at 12 years old, and at 14 years old, he became the world's tallest teenager at 7'5". He's been officially recognized by the Guinness World Records book as the tallest teenager since, and when you really think about it, even back then in 2022, he was taller than Victor Wembanyama is now at 14 years old. Olivier Ryu has been going viral for years when a video leaked of him dominating his competition at 12 years old. As you can see by the highlights, this wasn't fair. The footage even caught the attention of current NBA stars, with Steph Curry commenting on posts that he had so many questions that nobody has answered. And I bet you have questions too, so let me answer them for you, because those clips were several years ago. Ryu has grown a lot since then, and not just physically.
When you think about being 7'6", do you think of it as a blessing or a curse or both?
A blessing.
A blessing?
Yeah.
That's nice to hear. Why do you say that, generally speaking?
You can use it for almost everything. You can use it for being famous, you can use it for basketball, you can use it for highest shelf in the kitchen or whatever. So yeah.
So starting out, Olivier Ryu, born in Canada February 2006, comes from an athletic background. While his father at 6'8" was a photographer, his mother Anna played volleyball, and his older brother Camille, who's 6'8", played basketball. But Olivier was different, and once he started gaining popularity on social media playing AAU in his home country of Canada, he travelled to Europe to join Real Madrid, the most successful European club who have a reputation of developing NBA talent. Luka Doncic is their best ever player and biggest name, but other NBA success stories include Nikola Mirotic, Usman Garuba, and Willy Hernangomez. It was here in Madrid, standing out against the top youth teams across Europe, that some top high school programs in America took interest, and Olivier Ryu chose to join IMG Academy, one of the top schools in the United States. They have a reputation of developing talent. Just check out the list of NBA players that have attended their program. The most interesting case study on this list is Zach Edey, who funnily enough is also Canadian. When Edey first arrived at IMG, he had no interest in playing basketball. He actually wanted to be a baseball player, and at first he was nowhere near ready, but the coaches at IMG were patient, prioritizing his development, and in time he became a ranked high school player, got a bunch of offers, and went to Purdue. There, after 2 years, he became the best player in college basketball, won National Player of the Year back-to-back years, led his team to the national championship game, and was drafted 9th by the Memphis Grizzlies in the 2024 NBA draft.
The 9th pick in the 2024 NBA draft, the Memphis Grizzlies select Zach Edey from Toronto and Purdue University.
Zach Edey had a solid rookie season, averaging 9.2 points, 8 rebounds and 1.3 blocks as the starting center for one of the best teams in the Western Conference. The success of Zach Edey after leaving IMG inspired the program to take on a similar challenge of preparing another giant for the next level, and that challenge was Olivier Ryu. He was even more of a process than Edey. Ollie has been training like a pro athlete for years now, and being at IMG Academy allowed him to focus on basketball every day. His daily routine would consist of weight weight room training, endurance, one-on-one sessions with the skill coaches, and time spent with his personal nutritionist. For Olivier, a lot of things came easy to him, rebounding, blocking shots, scoring close to the basket, but at his size the real challenge was keeping up with the pace and holding up for an entire basketball game. And he got better at that. At first he would only play sparingly in blowouts and for limited minutes, but as his high school career progressed he received more and more playing time and featured in a larger role. One thing I know you'll all agree with is that injuries are the worst part of sports. But it's not just athletes, everyday people deal with injuries in real life too. I'm personally dealing with an Achilles injury that severely affects my mobility and everyday life. Nobody expects to get injured, you can't prepare for it, it just happens. Which is why I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Most insurance companies claim to have your back, but they really don't. They often lowball and offer you far less than what's needed to support you and cover the costs. Morgan & Morgan are different. As America's largest injury law firm, they're serious about getting fair compensation for their clients. With over 1,000 attorneys and more than 30 years of experience doing just this, Morgan & Morgan have a proven track record of getting results, even winning up to 40 times more than the initial insurance offers for their clients in some cases. Of course, every case is unique and there are no guarantees, but you can trust that Morgan & Morgan will fight hard for people just like you if you become their client. One of the best things about Morgan & Morgan is you don't have to pay anything up front. You don't pay anything unless they win the case. And getting started is really simple. In just a few minutes you can find out if you have a case directly from your mobile phone, so there's no need to go through stacks of paperwork or waste your time sitting through endless appointments. It's a quick and easy way to get the help you need and deserve. So if you've been seriously injured, don't wait and find out what your case could be worth. You can start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/DKM, found in the description, or scan the QR code on your screen from your phone's camera. Thank you to Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Throughout his time at IMG, Olivier Rioux regularly represented the Canadian national team at youth level, first debuting at the 2021 Under-16 FIBA AmeriCup Championships, which is a tournament that includes North, Central and South American countries. Olivier Rioux was a starter and performed well throughout this tournament. In 6 games he averaged 8.3 points, 10.3 rebounds and 2.5 blocks per game. He had some good games. In the quarterfinal against Puerto Rico he had 10 points, 9 rebounds and 3 blocks. But his best game came against Team USA in the semi-finals, facing off against some of the best talent in the country, Timberwolves guard tournament MVP Robert Dillingham, who went on to be the number 8 pick out of Kentucky in the 2024 draft, and then Ron Holland from G League Ignite, who was once the projected number 1 pick before being drafted by the Detroit Pistons last summer. But with all these top D1 and NBA prospects on the court, Olivier Rioux dominated.
La cuota de garantía en el perímetro para el equipo estadounidense.
Balón para Canadá, lo está manejando Canadá. Bad Black que intenta cerrar ahora. Arriba para el tiro Michael Tyne. Arriba Ríos. Ríos en cámara lenta. Quiero ver qué van a intentar. Ahí está Ríos. Puede ser esa, puede ser la fórmula. Atrás McBride. Arriba para el lanzamiento, lo cerró.
He played 25 minutes, recorded 12 points, 12 rebounds and 4 blocks, shooting 5 of 8 from the field. While Canada lost this game, they did capture a bronze medal after defeating the Dominican Republic in the 3rd place game. Rioux was a contributor, having 10 points and 6 rebounds in just 17 minutes. A year later in 2023, Rioux was back representing his country, this time at the 2023 FIBA Under-19s World Cup. He was only 17 years old at the time, making him one of the younger players in a tournament that was stacked with pro prospects. France had Zachary Risacher and Alex Sarr, the top 2 picks in the 2024 NBA draft. Team USA had Cody Williams, who was drafted 10th by the Jazz in 2024. Also Dylan Harper, who's projected to be a top 3 pick in this year's draft. Rioux played a lot less in this tournament, partially because of the fact he was competing for playing time against slightly older, more experienced players. But in the limited time he did get, he averaged 3.2 points, 3.4 rebounds and a block per game. He made 7 of his 8 field goal attempts throughout this tournament, and against Japan, the one game where he played 10 or more minutes, he stood out with 10 points on 5 of 6 shooting with 5 rebounds and a block. The most recent time Ryu represented the national team was in 2024 playing at the FIBA Under-18 AmeriCup Championships. This was the same tournament he played his best basketball in 2021 at Under-16s. The expectations were a lot higher this time, and it was a great opportunity for Ryu to show off his improvements that he made during his time at IMG. But he didn't take his game to that next level. He averaged 4.5 points, 4.5 rebounds and 2 blocks per game, and didn't have any standout performances. By the end of his high school career, Ryu was listed as a 3-star recruit by 24/7 Sports. And here's what one scout had to say about him. Ryu is a low post menace. He takes up immense space on the floor but doesn't move well on his feet. In short minutes, Ryu can come into a game, clog the paint, shield opponents away from the rim and be a serviceable rebounder. He does have pretty good hands and touch on the offensive side of the ball, but he will need to continue developing his coordination, especially in quick reaction circumstances. 24/7 Sports ranked Olivier Ryu as the 313th best player in the country, the 55th best center and 28th best player in all of Florida, which doesn't sound great, especially in the one and done era where we expect everyone to be a McDonald's All-American and future lottery pick right away. But remember, IMG Academy were playing the long game with Olivier Ryu, and the blueprint was Zach Edey, who after his senior year in high school was also a 3-star recruit and the 75th best center and 33rd best player in Florida. So Olivier Ryu was actually higher rated at the same age going into college than the guy who went on to be the best player in college basketball. And that fact right there is definitely promising. Going into college, Ryu generated a lot of interest from a bunch of different schools, and that's because he's an intriguing prospect with great potential. We've seen giants like Taco Fall at UCF and Mamadou Ndiaye at UC Irvine go on to be successful college players at that height, so there's no reason why Ollie couldn't be the same or even better. Despite having offers from other states all across the country, Ollie decided to stay in Florida and join the Gators, a decision that's paid off well so far. Ollie was recruited to the program with a long-term vision in mind. The plan at first was to ease him in over time, but naturally, due to his popularity, his presence became a bit of a distraction for the team. Ryu would be sitting on the end of the bench and fans would chant his name, desperate to see him in the game. To prevent this from happening, both parties decided the best thing to do would be for Ollie to redshirt the season. Now, redshirting is a common practice in college basketball. Every player gets 4 years of college eligibility, and if somebody isn't going to play much their freshman year, sometimes it's better not to play them at all to preserve that extra year. Coach Golden explained publicly that despite the pressure he had from fans, he had Ryu's best interest at heart, saying he didn't want to burn a year of his eligibility for 30 seconds on the floor. Instead, Ryu spent this season cheering his teammates on from the bench, learning the game, the system, while still participating in team practices, scrimmages and working on his game. And this decision was the right one looking back, because as we know, the Florida Gators were really good. They had a 36-4 record in the regular season, won the SEC title, and in the NCAA tournament went to the Final Four and won a national title. Ryu might not have played on the court, but he got to experience the whole journey. He was a part of a championship winning team, got to see up close and personal what it takes to succeed at that level, while sharing the court, practicing and scrimmaging every day with guys like Walter Clayton Jr., who was the MVP of the Final Four and is on his way to the NBA draft this summer. And next season, as the Gators look to defend their title, Ryu will have a bigger role with the team, and with all the media attention the champions will receive next season, he'll have a massive opportunity to make some serious money in NIL due to his popularity. Ryu will start his college basketball career experienced. He's played at a top high school academy, he's represented his national team and won medals against the best player his age, and now he's a part of a winning program playing under one of the best young coaches in America. He has been well prepared for this jump, and the most important thing is this is what he wants. This isn't a case like Robert Bobrovsky, who some may remember played high school basketball at Spire Academy with LaMelo Ball. He was there solely because of his height. He now does a podcast and is pursuing a career in acting. Basketball was never really his thing, same thing for Taco Fall. He was brought over from Senegal as a teenager, and while he's gone on to be a pro hooper in Australia, Taco always seemed more interested in technology. But Olivier Ryu eats, sleeps and breathes basketball. He wants to be a professional, and his coaches have always said that he's a hard worker. They've never had to push him to do things because he's always been committed himself. Going forward, Olivier Ryu is somebody we can expect to be a 4-year college player, and it's impossible to say how good he can become, because at 7'9" the sky is the limit. Nobody would have thought when Zach Edey first arrived at Purdue, starting just 2 of 28 games as a freshman, that he would go on to accomplish what he did. And the craziest thing is, Zach Edey is 5 inches shorter than Olivier Ryu. But I cannot end this video without addressing the elephant in the room. Is Olivier Ryu Ryu going to make the NBA? The answer is, he might not. Because while height may be enough to make you a great college player, being tall isn't enough anymore in the NBA. There was a time in basketball where being the tallest player on the court was valuable, but at the highest level of the game in 2025, you can't just throw a big body in the paint anymore. Basketball has changed. These types of players are always targeted on defense because guards will pull them out of the paint, force a switch in the pick and roll, blow by them to the rim every time if they don't have the foot speed to recover. Also, a lot of centers can shoot the free ball now. Because of this, they can camp in the corner, which puts these centers in a difficult situation where they can either guard the rim and leave the shooter open, or deny the free ball and allow slashers to attack the basket. This is what separates somebody like Victor Wembanyama. He might be 7'4", but his height isn't the reason he was considered a generational prospect. It was what he's able to do with his height that set him apart. His guard-like skills, handle, shooting, mobility, coordination, defensive IQ, and his versatility to guard multiple positions and switch whenever necessary. Despite basketball being a tall man's sport, there is such thing as being too tall for the NBA. Taco Fall, who we mentioned earlier, is a great example. He stood out his senior year in college, even went toe-to-toe with #1 pick Zion Williamson in the NCAA tournament. When he went to the NBA, he was a statue on the court, played under 5 games. But for every case study, it's almost unfair to compare anyone to Olivier Ryu, because we have never seen a basketball player this tall who can actually hold his own on the court against top talent. And because he redshirted this year, when he leaves college and is eligible to be drafted, he'll be 23-24 years old. That gives him so much time to work on his body, his conditioning, endurance, and further develop his skills. And for that reason, I'm being optimistic, and I believe that many years from now in the 2029 NBA draft, there will be one team that decides to take a chance on Olivier Ryu, and he will become the tallest player in NBA history. He's 7'9" right now. People close to him say that he's still growing. He might even be 8 foot tall by then. I wouldn't rule anything out. But what do you guys think? Is Olivier Ryu going to make the NBA? And if so, what chances do you give him of actually having a successful career? Share your thoughts and feedback down below in the comments, and since we're talking about college basketball, go check out our last video talking about Jimmer Fredette. He was considered the original Steph Curry. He had some of the craziest three-point range we've ever seen, but despite being the best player in college, it didn't work out for him in the NBA. In our last video, we talk about him, why he didn't succeed in the NBA, and what happened to him going overseas putting up crazy stats. So to watch that, click the big box in your middle of your screen, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if new around, and on that note, it's DKM signing out. Until next time, and peace.